All right, time for weekly outlook. Where was I gonna start? Well, we were kind of chopping in this 3 week range. I know we talked about it last week or going into last week. We finally broke away from it. Did we necessarily get a breakout? Not really, but we broke away from value. What I mean by that was this is what it looked like going into the week, right? And where you have your bulk of the value here, and we got away from it, away from it, away from it. Got a retest that got bid up overnight. NFP helped a bit, and now past those highs, right? So, we sort of discussed this idea of breaking away from value. Did we get a full-on breakout? No, not quite. Kind of going to be looking for that this week. Is sort of what I'm going to be looking for. Is the full-on just trend days. Well, it'd be nice if they made it trend days. Just closing at the highs, big green bars, and just to push into new highs, and primarily up here, right, and possibly new all-time highs. The issue becomes when this gets faded. Right? I think that's when, instead of like trying to time a top and trying to short at each one of these levels, I think it's better once you can start to see us establish some value below something. We'll point that level out when I go to the TPO. I think there's a clear level on both ES and NQ, at least pretty close by us as to like what we can sort of, okay, if we see value establishing lower or below this level, we can sort of be cautious on the long side. Sellers maybe get a chance to step in and whatnot. But until then, like I'm just looking long, full size, and just trying to hold a position. Same thing on NQ. Right, last week we had this broke away from where most of the value was being established in this 3 week balance. Got the retest of it right on this session and worked higher. Funny enough, NQ had an inside day. ES did not, so we'll be watching the inside day on NQ. ES not necessarily an inside day, but got pretty similar levels. Both profiles look pretty similar in that this is last week's composite, if I'm not. No, there was one more session below. Yeah, so this was Monday. Okay, so we merge this together. This was last week's profile. You don't have a true gap here, but gap here we never came down and failed. We have another bulk of value to work with, right? So we had this in that 3 week balance, shifted higher, got the bid off of it, and then Friday and established value above where most of last week was spent trading, right? Which was here, both time and volume. So currently getting a bid off of ATH. We'll watch it come RTH. I wouldn't be surprised if like we have to like go, I don't know, maybe go test value area low or kind of see like this shelf down here. This is sort of where like I have my longer term or mid to longer term line in the sand, at least for now. Sort of where the bulk of this 3 week balance starts to kick in, right? I could see a scenario in which like you come fill this in a little more and maybe get a more complete profile. Does it have to do that? No, not necessarily. Possibly a scenario, but for now, at least into tomorrow and likely Tuesday, this is probably the only thing I'm watching. If we can hold this, I'm just gonna be bullish. If we can be above this, I'm just gonna be extremely bullish, right? And try to be bid up against that and up against this. Maybe not so much now. I'd rather just like play this on a reclaim only because we're kind of making this level weak with ETH trading down here. But I think just start the week, that's gonna be the play. Is what do we do up against the bulk of where we spent last week trading? Right, and on ES it's here. On NQ, it kind of closed like right within it. Right, so this is last week's composite. Um, right, arguably most of it sits here. Friday's poor highs, and like you get a little bit of a taper here. Right, so most of it sits here. You got like this 700 up to 800 is like some shelves sort of within the thing, which I think can be some areas we look to maybe take some trades off of. I have some bits lower actually right now, risking 650. Never came in and got filled, but I'll still be watching it come RTH. Yeah, so I'm for the most part, at least to start the week, I'm going to be expecting sideways within this until we're not right or around this, because markets aren't always going to just trade in a complete box. You're going to get some undershoots, overshoots, and whatnot. But I think most of it's I think the idea, at least to start the week, is like, okay, what do you do up against this? So I'll be looking to take some trades off the edges, whether it's the downside or whether it's the lower end here to try to take it back up to the upper end. Upper end, obviously, I only look for long, so I'm sort of going to be looking for that break above it, above Friday's highs, and push higher. Otherwise, since we got the poor highs Friday, maybe look for that little look above and fail kind of thing. You already got the failure technically. ETH below Friday's lows, inside date lows. Kind of working higher. Really wanted to see down here, but we'll see what happens. By the time I wake up, see if we get filled on those or not. Longer term, mid to longer term line in the sand, I still have down here, marking off the upper end of that 3-week balance, where most of that value comes in. That sort of makes a lot more sense. We sort of just discussed the idea of getting a more complete profile on ES. You don't always get exactly what you're looking for. Like it'd be a piece of cake if all profiles had to look like this, but they don't always do. But you still got some singles down here. Some thin spots. There's a chance we have to go bid that again. The only issue is like we saw that on Thursday, right? We got long off of it. ETH open. When we closed down there, and then ETH opened up a little lower, right at 470. So we did see that if we have ETH included. Let me actually turn that on. Right, so maybe I have to go revisit that Thursday's access down there again, down in like the 550s. Who knows? I don't want to be too aggressive down here. I'd rather just be aggressive up against, again, this lower end. This it tapers off a bit, so I sort of have it as a zone. Without ETH included and just RTH, I think it's also your value area low on the week. Oh no, it's actually a lot lower. I didn't have Monday included when I did the levels. But yeah, I'll sort of be watching the 670, 700 up to 800 is like the places I'm going to be looking to execute up against, and then probably it's like 870s, 860s, also Friday's highs. Right, so I think to me pretty simple. At least to start the week. I know in terms of data, what do we got? I know we have CPI and PPI this week, and then FOMC the following week. Do we have anything else that's big? Aside from that, nothing crazy. Yeah, just PPI, jobless claims. Couple longer term bond auctions could be interesting intraday. And then some soft data, Michigan consumer sentiment, and that kind of thing. So we'll see where we are when those numbers come out. But for now, I see it as a pretty easy like setup as to what I want to see and where I want to get involved. Um, Maybe I should have charted the Russell this week. I think they got a chance to start outperforming. Hmm. Yeah, I think pretty simple. Um, I think ESNQ pretty similar spots up against the last couple of weeks. I know NQ is a little higher. But yeah, bigger picture is like, okay, can we actually get a full-on breakout away from this? The NQ one looks a little better, easier, or it makes a little more sense. And then you got highs, 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 look above and fail, pivot low, right? Like that's where most of your big at least session pivots are. Um, can we really call this a breakout? Yes, you made the attempt. You got the back test, which looks great. Opened up here. Okay, now do you have to spend more time trading up here, or can we actually go and get a full-on breakout? Right, just a textbook breakout. If it so, that's the only part I'm sort of like questioning myself. Is okay, like which when it grinds and is slow, it makes it tough to trade, tough to hold. Guess it's fine. Just kind of have to keep that in the back of our mind. Like when we do get positions, like moves can potentially be slow, right? If it does break down though, first thing I'm watching, of course, is like, okay, can you establish value below last week's like this main distribution? And like if sellers can start establishing value down here and get like lowercase b shaped profiles like this or whatever it may be, right? Um, sometimes they do make it hard, and then like you'll just like close here, and then like the next session you just fall like 500 points. Those are always tough to catch. Like it's a lot easier. Like be ready for it, like try to get positioned for it when they take it slow and like sort of establish value lower. And then like now you're in that like sort of headspace to kind of like just be short, right? Um, but that's sort of what my line in the sand is going to be. It's like, okay, if we can, it's going to be an issue if sellers establish value below last week's main distribution. Albeit you got a little like on NQ, I could like see us trading down here, and like it's okay. I just have to see more MGI to since we already got the test on Thursday. Well, Thursday was kind of like just news, right? Just Elon and Trump for the most part. I'd be okay with being bid from these levels below. I'm not going to be as aggressive as I was down here. That is for sure. If it does trade down here and gives you a bid and then gets over some levels, I think you get that's when you can throw on some real size and try to hold on to a position, right? I think, let's say you come down here, build that part of the profile, and maybe get a bid here or wherever it may be, right? You're gonna have more MGI here to sort of work with and sort of merge with these profiles. Like let's say you get a bid just randomly off any of these levels below, and or maybe form some nice excess, right? Establish value the rest of the session up above something. I think in that scenario, yeah, I do want to like try to get positioned in a some more lots, maybe swing some options as well. In that scenario, and try to take it for rotation back up. But at least to start the week, I'd like to see us really just try to defend this, or at least establish value overlapping with this. Uh, Otherwise, like I would just like to see us break out tomorrow and keep going. Um, so, any questions? What are your two composite profiles set from on the right currently? These ones. This one on the left is 2025. Uh, yeah, this is 2025. Starting from like here, somewhere here in the middle. I forget where specifically. Wait, yeah, yeah, somewhere down here is where it starts. This one is just everything to the left. And this goes back quite a ways. Right, so I mean, the levels here have worked. Right, they've been really decent targets. Um, Even now, like the levels I'm sort of putting on now are pretty darn close to sort of what we've seen in the past. Uh, so they do a decent job even after like we haven't like seen them in a while. Like for example, this 800s, 810s, 20s, 30s shelf up here worked well to sort of mark off this overnight session's high, and then became a decent pivot up here, and sort of now the shelf here after last week. Most of the levels end up lining up for this part. Just go to revisit old levels and you just see them over and over again. I think that's about all I wanted to get out, so I'm gonna stop the recording. Are there any other